My daughter was in the ICU when Dad called. Tomorrow's your brother's birthday. Come help prep. I can't. She's fighting for her life. He snapped. Then you're cut off. I hung up and blocked him. The next day, my daughter opened her eyes and whispered, Dad, about Grandpa. I was sitting outside the ICU when my phone started vibrating. My daughter Emma had been inside for 3 days. 3 days of doctors speaking in careful voices. 3 days of sleeping in waiting rooms. 3 days of staring at monitors and hoping for good news. I looked at the screen. Dad. For a moment, I thought he was calling about Emma. I answered. How's she doing? He asked. Relief hit me briefly. Then he said, anyway, tomorrow's your brother's birthday. Your mother needs help getting everything ready. I stared at the hospital wall. Dad, Emma's in intensive care. I know. I haven't left the hospital. You can come for a few hours. I thought he had to be joking. He wasn't. She's fighting for her life. Your brother only turns 30 once. I closed my eyes. Growing up, everything revolved around my younger brother Ryan. If Ryan needed money, Dad found it. If Ryan made mistakes, Dad fixed them. When Ryan wrecked a car, Dad bought him another one. When I needed help paying for college, I got a lecture about responsibility. The rules were always different. Dad, I said quietly, I'm not leaving my daughter. His voice instantly hardened. If that's your choice, don't expect anything from us anymore. I frowned. What does that mean? It means you're cut off. I actually laughed. I was 42 years old, married, owned a house, hadn't taken money from him in years. Yet somehow he still thought that threat would work. My daughter comes first, then live with your decision. He hung up. I stared at the phone. For the first time in my life, I didn't call back. I blocked his number. Then I blocked Mom's too. The next day was Ryan's birthday. Pictures started appearing online. A giant party. Decorations everywhere. Dad smiling beside Ryan. Nobody called. Nobody texted. Nobody asked about Emma. Late that afternoon, I was sitting beside her bed when I saw her fingers move. Then her eyes opened. The nurse rushed in. Doctors followed. For the first time in days, there was hope. That evening, after things settled down, Emma looked at me. Dad? I leaned closer. Yeah, sweetheart? She swallowed. What about Grandpa? I froze. What about him? She looked at me. I heard him. The room suddenly felt smaller. Apparently, she'd been partially conscious during part of that phone call. Not fully awake, but awake enough. He sounded angry. I nodded. He was. Emma looked away. Then she quietly said, I'm glad you stayed. A month later, she was home recovering. Meanwhile, relatives started calling. An aunt, a cousin, then Ryan. Every conversation sounded the same. Dad didn't mean it. Dad was stressed. Dad was worried. Funny how nobody seemed worried about Emma. Only Dad. Then I learned something interesting. A cousin accidentally mentioned that Dad had been updating his estate plans. Suddenly, his threat made sense. He thought inheritance gave him power. He thought I'd panic if he cut me out. The problem was that Dad didn't know something. For years, my wife and I had quietly built our own future. We owned rental properties. We invested carefully. We saved consistently. Nothing flashy. Nothing anyone paid attention to. But we were financially secure. A few weeks later, a package arrived from Dad's attorney. Inside were revised estate documents. Dad had removed me completely. Everything would go to Ryan. There was also a handwritten note. Actions have consequences. I read it twice. Then I laughed. Not because it hurt. Because it explained everything. Ryan was still the favorite. Nothing had changed. So I signed the paperwork and mailed it back. No arguments. No begging. No complaints. Then I met with my own attorney. Years earlier, Dad had convinced me to stay involved in a business arrangement that benefited him financially. I legally withdrew. Everything was clean. Everything was documented. Everything was completely within my rights. The consequences arrived faster than he expected. Several financial benefits disappeared. A few important clients chose to continue working with me instead. Dad started calling from different numbers. I blocked everyone. Ryan tried. Ignored. Mom mailed letters. Unopened. Months later, Thanksgiving arrived. The family gathered at my parents' house. I wasn't there. Neither was my wife. Neither was Emma. Instead, we rented a small cabin near a lake. No drama. No guilt. No demands. Just peace. That evening, Emma sat beside the water watching the sunset. Healthy again. Smiling again. Living again. My phone buzzed once. A message from an unknown number. 3 words. We need you. I looked at the screen for a moment. Then I deleted it. Emma glanced over. What was that? I slipped the phone back into my pocket. Nothing important. And for the first time in my life, that was the truth.